Hello, my name is Justin Peterson, and one of my biggest passions in scouting is bugling. I remember the first time I was ever exposed to a bugle call. It was when I was laying in my cot at Camp Hononwall over the summer, and I was awoken by the sound of Reveille over the speakers. And I was like, whoa, what is that? I'm ready for the day now. When I was in middle school, I brought my trumpet along on troop campouts, and I must admit back then I was only brave enough to play taps at night. This Intro to Bugling video is designed to give you all the information you need to know how to get started as a bugler for your scout, troop, or pack by explaining what a bugle is, what calls there are, in addition to many tips I have learned over the years about bugling. So let's get started. For more on the history of bugling, check out the BSA Bugling and Music Merit Badge book. I would say the ideal situation to become a bugler would be to have some experience playing trumpet or another brass instrument. Alright, but if you're starting from scratch, let's go over a few basics of bugling / trumpets. So a B-flat trumpet is basically a bugle but with vowels, see? Now with all your bugle calls, you will not need to use any of your vowels. You will just have a few certain notes that you can play because there's no vowels on a bugle. Now, in order to make a sound on a trumpet or a bugle, you'll take the mouthpiece and you want to do what's called making a buzz, which is going. It's not. It's. Now, whenever you bring your mouthpiece to your mouth and do that, you get this sound. A misnomer about bugling is that you need to be able to read music. I would say that's not necessarily the case. While being able to read music will help you play the calls completely accurately, simply listening to them on YouTube will also give you the same general idea how they sound, and you can mimic that. So for instance, this is what Reveille sounds like. Now obviously the more you do it, the more strength you're going to get in your lips in order to be able to sound better for longer. So let's go over a few notes on the horn that you're going to hear once you start listening to those bugle calls. So first of all, you have a C. Then you'll have a G. And then you'll have another C. And then you'll have your E. Then you'll have your G. An important distinction to make now is the fact that whenever you're changing from note to note to note, typically you're doing what is called tonguing, where you put your tongue in between your front two teeth to make a sound like this. Ta, 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 ta. Now the difference is whenever you're not tonguing, you're doing what is called slurring, where you use the strength in your lips to go from one note to another. Ah. So tonguing, ta, 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 or slurring. Ah. So now it's time to introduce all the main calls I like to play during outings with my Cub Scout pack. I always ask my Cub Master for a schedule of the campout so I know when certain events like wake up time and lights out will take place. Typically 15 minutes before wake up time, you can play what is known as first call, which sounds like this. I've always found it funny that the first major call of the day, Reveille, is the hardest, while the last call of the day, Taps, is basically the easiest. Before playing first thing in the morning, it is important to keep seasonal factors in mind. The ideal situation is for your horn to be warm when you're playing in order to produce the correct tone. You can do this by breathing warm air into it for a few minutes before you start playing. You can also get your lips warmed up by placing a sock or a cloth in the bell of your horn to mute the sound. Also keep in mind when sunrise is. If your pack has selected 8 a.m. as their wake-up time, but the sun rises at 7 a.m., chances are by the time you go to play Reveille, most people will already be up. Reveille is most useful when it essentially becomes the unit's alarm clock. If you notice that wake-up time is long after sunrise, then you may need to play Reveille earlier in order for it to have its desired effect. Now, the reason Reveille is the hardest is because it is the most unforgiving. It is a very fast rhythmic tune. And trust me, it is not hard to get off track with it, but I do find that it's easier when played fast. This is what it sounds like. Well, I've been playing trumpet for many years and done many bugle calls, and I made plenty of mistakes along the way. But the main thing to remember is you're going to make some flubs. But chances are people aren't going to notice because as long as they hear the bugle call, they are getting the desired effect. A lot of times, a bugler's biggest critic is going to be themselves. So just relax, take a breath, and do your best. That's the biggest thing to remember. And in most cases, people are going to say, man, you did a great job. You really made that ceremony special through the bugle call that you did. And sometimes you're going to run into other musicians, and they might say things like, oh, well, I played it better, or man, you were a little pitchy there. And just remember, don't let any of that bother you, because you were the one that was brave enough to get up and serve as the bugler, and that's all that matters, and you should be proud of that. The next call of the day is To the Colors. I would say this is the second hardest tune of the day. You begin playing this when the colors are being raised by the color guard during the opening flag ceremony. Playing this call is a great way to enhance your flag ceremony to honor the United States as everyone salutes as the flag is being raised. Not only are there a few complex rhythms in To the Colors, you are also standing in front of an assembly of people. This might sound odd for me as a bugling enthusiast, but I still always get butterflies in my stomach every time I come up to play. But you just need to take a deep breath and go for it. Remember, practice, practice, practice. The next call of the day is for mess or lunchtime and sounds like this. This is one of the simpler calls and is fun to play when you know people are around are getting really hungry. Check with the cook or quartermaster if they are ready for people to line up, and when they are, give that call a go. The next call of the day is Evening Retreat. You play this about 15 minutes before the evening flag ceremony to let everyone know it's almost time to retire the colors for the day. Listen closely because I think this call sounds a lot like a grandfather clock. When the flag is lowered, you once again play To the Colors. Note, if you have a short flagpole, you may want to ask the color guard to take their time because To the Colors is a lengthy tune. For dinner, you may want to play the mess call again if it feels needed. Remember, bugle calls are there to enhance the feel of your campout. So if something happens to where it no longer feels appropriate to play them, then use your discretion. Finally, we come to the end of the day when the leader of the unit has decided it's time for lights out, which is your cue to play good old taps. This call is fairly easy, and there is the opportunity to make it sound very pretty by stretching out certain parts. If you have two buglers, you can play what is known as shadow taps, where each player takes turns playing each phrase of the call. Next, it's time for a good night's rest, so make sure to set your alarm clock so you can get up early to play Reveille first thing in the morning to get your unit ready for the day. Alright, well that's about all you need to know and more about how to get started with a fairly complete bugling routine for your unit. There are other various calls, like the church call and the swim call, that you might also find an opportunity to play at some point. I hope this video has sparked your curiosity about bugling and has given you all the information you need to get started. If you have any questions, you can always email me at petersonj198@gmail.com. I am also available to come present bugling demonstrations for your unit on request. Remember, bugling is a fun skill, but it also takes plenty of practice and hard work. So I wish you the best of luck as you get started. Remember, if you ever feel nervous as a bugler, just remind yourself of the old trumpet joke. How many trumpet players does it take to change a light bulb? 10, of course, 1 to do it, and 9 others to say how much better they could have done it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.